Alright, well it's the 3rd of March, we're in the middle of our harvest, and I thought I'd meet up with our winemaker at Fairview here, Anthony de Jager, just to get his impressions of the vintage so far, to get a little bit of a feel for what's been going on in the cellar. It's been a very busy couple of weeks. So yeah, we thought we'd just catch him on a spare moment that he had here and catch up. At the moment, in terms of where we are in the harvest, we're about 3/4 of the way through. Most of the white wines are in. All of our Sauvignon Blanc, there's a little bit of Chenin Blanc left, and then in the next week or 10 days we'll bring in the last of our red wines, which is our Cabernet and our Merlot from our Stellenbosch farm. Obviously the time in the cellar is very busy, and our actual vintage is sort of determined by what goes on in the cellar over these few weeks, but most of that is determined months before in terms of the weather and the conditions and the ripening in the vineyards. Has this been quite favourable this year?
Yeah, it's been a nice mild kind of year. We had a good winter. We had good winter rains, similar to last year. It was nice and cold, so we had good fruit set, and there was a bit of snow up in the mountains again. So overall a good winter. There was a good bud burst and a mild sort of spring. So we've quite constantly been about, with the cooler weather, we've been 2 to 3 weeks behind the whole time. So, which is nice, a longer ripening season.
Has that been quite different sort of from region to region? I mean, we have grapes in different areas.
I think it's been similar. So, Darling's been later, Paarl's later, Malmesbury, all the regions we work on has been a little bit cooler and a little bit later than usual. And I'm comparing that to last year. It was also very favourable. The big difference last year was, last year was also a very nice year, very mild, but we had quite a bit of rain last year, sort of in the growing season
and in
the harvest. We had, by last year, this time we'd had about 55, 56 mil of rain, right in the harvest, sort of once a week and so on. This year we've had 2 little bits of just sort of wetting the, settling the dust really.
Just to cool it down.
Yeah, and cool down and we're fine. So it's been very mild. We've had 1 or 2 hot days. This Sunday past was really hot. We've had 1 warmish hot spell before that, but it hasn't been this sort of heat wave like a week or 2 of we've had that in the past, where it's just so hot that it sort of drags you down a little bit.
And so in terms of those conditions, how does that affect the way that the grapes ripen? Is it better to have them on the vine for a little bit longer?
It sometimes almost has the opposite effect of what you expect, because the vine's in quite a nice space. It's not too hot, it's not too stressed out, there's enough moisture in the soil. On our irrigated vineyards nowadays with technology, we're able to exactly add the amount of water at the correct time. So we just keep it sort of in this sort of zone where the vine's not stressing too much. And with a year like this year, we've got quite a small crop, it seems like. We're definitely down on tonnage.
So actually less grapes on the vines?
There's less grapes, the bunches are smaller, the berries are smaller, the crop's a bit lighter. So with that, the vine's got, is having an easier time out there, and it's been a mild year. So because of that, and the favourable conditions in the soil, the vine is able to then, if it needs to, and it warms up slightly, it can push the sugar levels up quite quickly. So you've got to really watch it. It's been to that degree, it's been quite a difficult year, in that it started off very late, so we were waiting for everything, and then it warmed up a little bit, and it got a little bit hot, and then suddenly these vines, all the leaves are looking beautiful. Like some years this time, everything's, the leaves in the zone where the fruit's hanging is yellow. Not this year, all the leaves are falling off. They're still looking wonderful. So it's kind of a bit easier for the vine. So
and does that have an impact in terms of the actual flavours that you're going to end up with in the wine?
The flavours I've seen so far, and the first stuff that's just starting to ferment, it's very nice.
Reds or
the
whites
reds look nice. Particularly the Shiraz is nicely deeply coloured. It looks good. There's good fruit, and there's nice sort of acid balance. Pinotage has been a bit difficult. I'm starting to get the idea Pinotage must be in a really warm area. This cooling thing, it's just the sugar goes up and doesn't seem to get phenolically right.
Okay.
Where Shiraz was fine. The next sort of round of grapes coming up, Cab Merlot, towards the end now, we'll have to see how they look. I was in the Stellenbosch Merlot vineyards this morning, just to see if we can pick before this heat wave coming up the next couple of days. Was not quite there. We'll have to sit through the heat wave.
All right.
Yeah.
One of the other sort of little projects that we've been doing on the blog, and as our viewers will have seen as well, is we've been following the 2009 Sauvignon Blanc. We've been in the vineyards with Charles, we've had a look, we've seen the harvest. Obviously they've been in the cellar now for a week or 10 days or a couple of weeks in some cases. How's it looking at the moment? Where are we with the Sauvignon Blanc? Sort of, how far away are we now before we actually see it in a bottle?
Yeah.
And then what are your impressions of it initially? And also maybe what else do you think we should look out for from the 2009 vintage?
The first of the Sauvignon Blancs are just getting towards the end of the ferment. The first lot we came in, it wasn't from Darling, it's from a farm in the Swartland.
Okay.
What I like about that, because normally that region won't be that great for Sauvignon, but because of the cool here, and we caught it before that first little warm spell we had. So it came in surprisingly sort of cool climatey sort of feel for the Swartland. What I like about they're slightly older vines, and it's got a lot of mouthfeel.
Okay.
At the moment, the nose is not as expressive as we'd like on Sauvignon Blanc, but it's one of those wines that, if possible, we mustn't rush it. I think it needs to sit on its lees for a couple of months. Just opened the valve at the bottom of the tank yesterday and smelled the lees. There's a lot of flavour in there. So
do you stir those up, or how do you?
You're going to be very careful about that, but we probably would give it a stir too, and just leave it on that lees for quite a while. The first of the Darling Sauvignons is about 3/4 way through its ferment. It's looking fine. Still early days. The fruit definitely had quite nice flavours this year, but it's not at this stage hugely expressive. I do think it's wines that are going to take a time on the lees and maybe a bit more time in the bottle.
Well, we've actually seen that even with the previous vintages from the Darling area, but at time it does benefit.
You're careful rushing that lot. And again, it's quite late, so normally by now the Sauvignon has been finished fermenting. I mean, the one tank we only started fermenting on Thursday, so it's been much later than we used to as well. Other whites to look out for, we tried a bit of Achterpaal Chenin. It's looking quite sort of rich the way they do, very different from our normal leaner style, that lean minerally style we get from Darling. So that's just something else. We're just trying a bit of that.
A little bit of an experiment, sort of.
Yeah, something there. Semillon only came in today from Pagel, so that's way too early to say, but there were some nice flavours there. And the
you mentioned earlier that you're...
the first Viogniers are just barrel-fermented Viogniers are just finishing off now, and it's a real mouthful of wine.
Oh, really?
It's quite
looking good,
nice.
though?
Yeah.
Your kind of style that you enjoy?
It's probably a little bit bolder. But they're different components, so it's a little bit bolder, I think, than what we've had before. But that's one side from the Achterpaal, from the farm Primo. The Fairview lot's looking more than what we used to.
Yeah, with the Fairview Viognier, what we'll do is actually get fruit from a number of different areas, and we'll blend together to get a sort of a style that we want.
Yeah, we sort of like what we do, sort of.
We'll probably get very close coming through. And in terms of the red, you said the Shirazes are looking good.
Yeah, there's one tank there that's possibly one of the nicest ones I've seen in the cellar in the couple of years I've been there. So that's quite exciting, and I'm sure there will be one or two others as well.
Yeah, as we carry on to the harvest, obviously we'll see as things emerge a little bit more.
Exactly.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks very much, Anthony. We'll catch up with you again soon. And if you guys have any questions or anything that you'd like to know a little bit more about the harvest, please drop me a line, email me, and we'll put them to the winemakers and put them on the spot. All right? Thanks again.
Pleasure. Cheers.